Jim Bowden is looking at a so-called rotation nightmare in Los Angeles, and still saying the move that might be coming next is a $300M Tarik Skubal super team. Before diving all the way into why that has half the league freaking out, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video. I need 1,000 subscribers to keep the channel going. Jim Bowden is looking at a rotation most teams would kill for and calling it a problem that might actually push the Dodgers into trading for Tarik Skubal. In his world, the team that just ripped off back-to-back titles and already lives in ace overload mode is somehow one insane move away from building a $300M plus super rotation that could break the rest of Major League Baseball. The question isn't just will they do it, it's whether the league is even ready for what this would look like if the Dodgers actually pull it off. Right now, the Dodgers' entire identity is built around something every other franchise envies: wave after wave of frontline starting pitching. They're coming off consecutive championships. Their rotation is already being described as one of the deepest in the sport, and yet the conversation around them sounds less like, do they have enough? And more like, how do you even hit these guys 4 games in a row in October? Most clubs spend years begging for one true ace. The Dodgers live in a world where people seriously wonder if adding another one would be overkill. But that's exactly the kind of overkill Bowden keeps pushing. To understand why this idea scares everyone, you have to understand what Tarik Skubal has turned into. He's not just a nice arm in Detroit. He's a 2-time AL Cy Young winner with elite run prevention numbers, the kind of left-hander whose ERA plus, FIP and WHIP scream top of the sport every time you pull up his page. The Tigers have quietly built their entire pitching identity around him at the very top of the rotation, and when he takes the ball, there's a real argument he's the best starter in the game that night. That's the level of pitcher Bowden is trying to teleport into Los Angeles. The money side is where this goes from big move to era-defining. Reporting out of Detroit says there was a massive gap between what the Tigers last floated and where Skubal's camp is believed to be aiming, with numbers in the 170M range on one side and Cole level or even 400M level expectations on the other. That isn't just a big contract. That's only a few teams on earth can do this without flinching type of commitment. And when insiders list the clubs that could realistically step into that fight, the same suspects keep showing up: the Yankees, the Mets, and of course the Dodgers. Combine that with a trade before free agency, and you're suddenly talking about a franchise using its financial muscle and prospect depth to lock in a decade-long problem for everybody else. That's why Bowden's trade proposals have set off such a storm. In different versions, he has the Dodgers sending out packages built around arms like Emmett Sheehan and Justin Robleski, plus prospects like Jackson Ferris and outfielder Zyhir Hope, sometimes with Tyler Glasnow floating in and out as a big league piece. He's written like it's only a matter of time, going as far as saying the Tigers will get an overwhelming offer and will have no choice but to move Skubal because there is basically no realistic path to a long-term extension in Detroit. On paper, it's the kind of deal contenders make all the time. Trade a painful mix of young arms and prospects now for a sure thing at the top of the rotation. In reality, a lot of people think he's massively underselling what a pitcher like this should cost. On the Dodgers side, though, you can see exactly why this is so tempting. Add Skubal to a group that already features multiple frontline starters, and you're either replacing someone like Glasnow or stacking him on top of an already ridiculous depth chart. Suddenly, that nightmare label for opposing lineups stops sounding dramatic and starts sounding accurate, especially in October when every game feels like you're facing another number one. In a league that keeps proving you can never have too much elite starting pitching, dropping a left-handed monster like this into LA's rotation feels less like a tweak and more like hitting a cheat code. The real question becomes whether fans see it as genius or as a glitch breaking the competitive balance. Back in Detroit, the reaction has been very different. Tigers fans hear Bowden talk like trading Skubal is inevitable. And it sounds like someone casually trying to peel away the face of their franchise to solve another team's rotation puzzle. Local writers have flat out called his suggested packages insulting, arguing that if you're going to rip a 2-time Cy Young level lefty out of your rotation in his prime, the return has to look a lot more overwhelming than a handful of good but not generational pieces. The front office is stuck in the middle. If they can't or won't go to that 300M plus neighborhood, do they cash out now or risk being the team that tried to thread the needle and lost a generational arm for nothing but a draft pick? And then the whole thing got a fresh dose of chaos. On January 8, Tarik Skubal and the Tigers blew past the deadline to avoid arbitration, and instead of quietly agreeing on a number, they ended up miles apart. Skubal filed at a record-setting $32 million, while Detroit came back at just $19 million. That $13 million gap doesn't just look bad on paper, it sets up a very public, very awkward hearing, and the Tigers are known as a file and trial team that usually drags these things in front of an arbitration panel. Every bit of that tension is exactly what a team like the Dodgers can exploit, and here's the thing, they're not lowballing some mid-rotation arm. Skubal just won his second straight AL Cy Young Award, becoming the first pitcher since Pedro Martinez in 1999 and 2000 to pull that off, and he did it with numbers that look like a video game. In 2025, he put up a 2.21 ERA, a 0.89 WHIP, and a 187 ERA, plus over 195 one-third innings, leading the American League in all three categories and finishing with 6.5 WAR by Baseball Reference. This isn't just an ace, this is a left-hander who is, right now, on top of the sport. When that kind of arm is 1 year from free agency and fighting over dollars with a team that has never paid at the very top of the market, every big market contender starts circling, and Bowden suddenly looks a lot less crazy. That's why national voices are now openly connecting him to Los Angeles by name. On CBS Sports HQ, Matt Snyder flat out said that if the Tigers move Skubal, the most likely destination is the Dodgers, even while acknowledging other heavyweights like the Yankees. Mets and Cubs would absolutely be in the mix. Fansided took it a step further, naming the Dodgers as Skubal's most likely landing spot among all the ace-hungry teams left in a frozen pitching market. When you've got a Cy Young winner in a contract fight, a front office that never calls anyone untouchable, and a contender with prospects and money staring at you across the table, it doesn't take long for the league to connect the dots. The money is the engine behind all of this. Skubal isn't some long-term, cost-controlled question mark. He's heading into his final season of club control before he can walk into free agency and let the entire market bid on a two-time Cy Young lefty. If he wins this arbitration case at $32 million, he sets the all-time record for a hearing, surpassing Juan Soto's $31 million and blowing past David Price's previous pitching mark in Detroit. That kind of salary in his last year before the open market tells you everything about where his camp thinks his value really is. For a mid-market team like the Tigers, long-term numbers in that neighborhood are terrifying. For the Dodgers, they're just the cost of doing business, when you think you've found the anchor for your rotation for the next decade. From the Dodgers' point of view, this is almost too perfect. The free agent market for top-tier starters has bogged down, prices for other controllable arms are sky high, and every trade for a frontline pitcher has required teams to gut their prospect depth. Los Angeles sits in that rare sweet spot. They've already built a rotation that can compete for another title, but they still have one of the deepest collections of young arms and outfield prospects in the sport. When Fansided broke down the likely Skubal trade landscape, they didn't dance around it. They said the Tigers' asking price is enormous, and they pointed straight at Dodgers names like Emmett Sheehan and Justin Robleski as the kind of MLB-ready arms Detroit would be right to demand. And that's just the starting point. The Dodgers also have 4 outfielders in MLB Pipeline's top 100, with Josue DePaula highlighted as the headliner of that group, which means they can put together the kind of balanced package contenders dream about big league-ready pitching plus high-upside position players. Detroit might prefer to avoid Glasnow, who comes with health questions and no real guarantee of sticking around long-term. But younger, controllable arms, plus a blue-chip outfield bat is exactly the structure their front office should be eyeing if they finally decide to pull the plug and move Skubal. For the Dodgers, it's painful, but nowhere near as painful as watching another team steal the best pitcher in baseball. On the field, the fit is almost unfair. Los Angeles has already built an October 1st rotation, but Skubal gives them something they don't currently have at that same tier, a left-handed, Cy Young caliber hammer, who has proven he can carry a staff wire to wire. Drop a 2.21 ERA, 0.89 whip arm into a rotation that is already viewed as one of the deepest in the league, and every playoff series suddenly looks like a mismatch from the moment the bracket comes out. The rotation nightmare label stops being a meme and becomes the scouting report. Game 1, you're seeing Skubal. Game 2, a different frontline arm. Game 3, another guy who would be an ace somewhere else. That is exactly the kind of postseason setup that turns good teams into dynasties. Detroit, meanwhile, is trapped in a brutal place between pride and reality. Skubal has already said he hopes to be in Detroit in 2026, and manager A.J. Hinch has gone out of his way to praise him, saying he loves everything about Tarik and reminding people that the reason there's so much noise around him is because he is literally at the top of the sport right now as a Tiger. But public admiration doesn't fix a $13 million arbitration gap or change the math of a franchise that has rarely played in the financial sandbox Skubal's future is headed toward. The longer this drags on, the more it feels like the Tigers are burning their last, best window to either lock him up or maximize his trade value, exactly the scenario Bowden kept hinting at when he said they might be forced into a deal. So, when you zoom out, this doesn't just feel like another rumor cycle. Arbitration chaos, historic salary numbers, a frustrated fan base in Detroit, and national writers openly calling Los Angeles his most likely landing spot all point in one direction. If someone is going to break this stalemate, it's probably the Dodgers. The only real mystery now is whether Andrew Friedman decides this is the moment to cash in chips and turn a great rotation into something every other fan base would call a glitch, just like Jim Bowden has been daring them to do for months. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more deep dive stuff on moves like this before they actually happen, make sure you're subscribed and tap like so YouTube knows you want more of these every day. It sounds corny, but every single sub and like literally keeps this channel alive and lets these long-form breakdowns keep coming. You've been watching the Show Insider. Thanks for hanging out. And now we just wait to see whether the Dodgers really do turn this Skubal mess into their next super team move.